Good morning. Namaste to you, everyone. Thank you for joining me this morning to honor your mind and your body and your spirit. Let's just take a moment to become present. Find a nice, comfortable seated position where you can sit nice and tall, allowing your spine and the back of your neck to be nice and straight. Opening up your chest, opening up your diaphragm, and opening up your heart. Let's gently close our eyes and soften our thoughts. Soften our eyes. Soften our shoulders. Soften our heart. Observe your breath as it is, soft and gentle, breathing life into you with each inhale, and relaxation with each exhale. Feel the grace of being present, returning to that awareness again and again. You may open your eyes now. For this morning's intention, you may think of a positive word or a phrase to have with you on your mat and perhaps carry with you throughout the day. This morning's intention I'd like to talk about is Ayurveda and the Kapha season. So March starts a new Ayurvedic season. Ayurveda, the sister science to yoga, focuses on three doshas or energies: the Pitta, the Vata, and the Kapha. Claire Ragazzino explains beautifully in her book, Living Ayurveda, that spring is Kapha season. The heavy, slow, cool qualities and wet weather of late winter and early spring, what we Vermonters call mud season, welcome a lightness into our food, our breath, and our movement. And that's to balance off and brighten those Kapha energies. Remember, Ayurveda is about balance. So to stay balanced in spring, thinking again, Kapha elements for spring, or for the Kapha elements are water and earth. That would make mud. So we want things that are a little bit opposite of that. So our food would be light, cleansing, warm, and freshly cooked. Examples are raw greens, whole grains, pungent spices. And during the spring or Kapha season, it's detox cleanses are often done. And there's a tradition in the Ayurvedic sister science that cleanses are done with this grain that's mixed with spices and herbs called khichdi. And you would commit to a certain period of time, like 1 day or 3 days, 7 days, and you would just eat khichdi. So it kind of just cleanses out your system. because you're not introducing anything else into it. And then that combination of ingredients is intended to kind of detox. So that's a tradition in the Ayurvedic science. The other things that you should emphasize in spring and Kapha season is breathing practices, and they should be invigorating and energizing to break up stagnation in the chest. Movement, such as your yoga practice, should be strengthening and vigorous and heating. So for this morning's pranayama, our breathing technique, we're going to do a pranayama called Simha. And Simha is lion's breath. And being March 1st, it's kind of appropriate for today, March coming in. Theoretically, the old adage of it coming in like a lion. But this breath really suits what Claire said about it being invigorating and energizing and breaking up the stagnation in the chest. So what you would do is, it's a little funny, so don't get embarrassed. You know, we're all friends here. So you open up your mouth wide, you stick out your tongue, and you exhale forcibly, saying the word ha. And the force comes from your stomach all the way up. I will demonstrate. So it's actually fun. You know, I was a little self-conscious when I first started doing it, but it's like that, you know, kind of goes out the window when you're doing yoga anyway. You shouldn't be self-conscious. So let's just try a few of those. Opening up your mouth, sticking out your tongue, going and it does, you know, if you bring it up from your belly, you can feel that active action in your chest. So 3 more times. Okay. And then for our meditation this morning, we're just going to peacefully do a meditation, but I'm going to suggest a mudra this time, and it's of the Prana Mudra. And Prana Mudra is a very powerful mudra. But in view of being in Kapha season, this mudra is particularly significant because it stimulates dormant energy within your body. And to do that is you bring your pinky and your ring finger to your thumb, and your other 2 fingers are extended. So your pinky actually is the water element, represents the water element. The ring finger actually represents the earth. So you have your earth and water, Kapha, and the thumb is fire. So it's balancing those elements of the earth, the water with fire. So I'm going to go to the mat. We'll do a few moments of meditation, and then we'll begin our practice. may open your eyes now. We'll start our asana practice. So get in a nice, comfortable seated position with your spine, back of your neck nice and long and tall. And just bring our fingertips to the mat, and we'll do a few I call sun breaths, and including a chest opener with that. So just slowly bring our arms up overhead, inhaling as we go, nice big inhales during this warm-up exercise. And if your hands can't come together, bring them out to the V shape that is comfortable for you. Find that sweet spot between effort and relaxation. Otherwise, if you can bring them together with your arms alongside your ear, that'd be great. And then bringing your hands down on the exhale, right in front of you, to your heart center. Big exhale. Inhaling, opening up your hands, opening up your chest, just bringing your hands back as far as what's comfortable. And then exhale, gently bringing them back together again. Then inhale up. Big inhale and exhale down. We'll do that a few more times and really focus on your inhale, synchronizing it with that uplift, the inhale. You can really elongate your inhale by slowing your movement of your hands down. So then we'll bring our hands together and bring them to heart center on the exhale. Then opening up. And then closing. And inhale up. And then exhale, slowly come down. And one last time, slowly up. And then exhale down. Inhale, open. And exhale, close. And if you can use that ujjayi breath, you can hear you're synchronizing with your breath with these movements. And then inhale up. That ujjayi, that ocean sound. And then exhale down. And then we'll do a few twists. So we're going to bring our hands back up again. And then twist our torso to the left, bringing our right hand down on our left kneecap. Left fingertips come right behind the hips. Twisting our torso gently to the left, sending our gaze straight ahead to the left. And then we'll sweep our hands back up again. And then sweep them all the way over to the right side, bringing our left hand down on our right knee. Left hand comes behind our hips, sending our gaze straight out to the right. Inhale back up. We'll do this back over to the left side. Twisting it gently, bringing our hands back down. Sending our gaze straight ahead, maybe opening up our chest a little bit more. And then sweeping our hands back up one last time over to the right. Hands come down. Hands right hand behind your hip, opening up your chest. And then coming back to center. We'll come up onto our hands and knees, coming into tabletop. So our wrists are right below our shoulders. Fingers are splayed out, index finger pointing up to the top of the mat. And then our knees are right below our hips. Nails tucked to the spine, creating a nice flat back. Our weights evenly distributed in our palms of our hands. And we'll gently push down to create a little bit of space between our shoulders and our ears. With our gaze going straight down to the mat, we're going to turn our nose over to the right. Just as if we're saying no or nodding no. And then we're going to swing that nose back to center and then over to the left. Nice gentle movements. Just follow your nose back again over to the right. And then back to center and over to the left. And back to center. One more time to the right. And then back to center and one more time to the left. And then we'll go back to center. We'll start our cat-cows. So again, we'll just kind of check into our alignment. Our palms and fingers are nicely spread on the mat with a gentle pressure in the hands, creating that space. And then we're going to round our back, tucking our head down, our tail goes down, really stretching out the spine. And then inhale, bringing the head up to the point where your gaze goes straight ahead. And your tailbone kind of comes up, creating a little bit of an arch in your lower back. And then exhale, rounding the back again, sending your head and tailbone down. Inhale, coming back up, lifting your head to the point where your gaze goes straight ahead. Tailbone goes up. We'll just do that for a few moments, really synchronizing your inhales and your exhales to that movement. Stretching out. And rounding the back. And going at your own pace here. You can go nice and slow with nice long inhales and exhales. It's not just body movement that warms up your body, it's your exchange of oxygen here. Inhaling and exhaling warms up your body. And then come back to tabletop. We'll bring both knees together, keeping our hands where they are. We'll extend the right leg out. And then just check with our hands, make sure our weight again is evenly distributed into each one. Hip bones are parallel to the mat. And then we'll lift our left arm up. And coming into bird dog, we're going to point our toes on the inhale and then flex our toes down to the mat on the exhale. So point, inhale, flex, exhale, 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 bring both down. And we'll switch sides. And making sure our alignment is correct. Wrist right up under the shoulders, pushing down gently into our hands. We'll lift our left leg up. Hip bones are parallel to the mat. And then lift the right arm up. Point toe on the inhale. Flex, exhale. Point, 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 inhale. Flex, exhale. And bring both hand and leg back down. We'll send our hips down to our ankles, extending our hands out toward the top of the mat, coming into extended child's pose. And just feeling the stretch here along your spine, your lower back. And then we'll come back up to tabletop with our knees spread apart so that they're right below our hips. We're going to tuck our toes under and gently lift our knees up off the mat and just kind of hover here for a few moments. And just feel that, that action in your core. Your navel's tucked to your spine. Feel it activating your core here. And then bringing our knees back down, keeping our toes tucked under. We'll walk our hands back and come into a squat. We're on the balls of our feet. And then pushing down, we'll come up to mountain pose. Bringing our toes in line with the straight edge of the mat. We'll lift up our toes off the mat, spreading them apart as far as you can, and then bringing them back down. Think of mud season where you can bring them right down into the mud oozes through. Just kidding. And then lifting our heels up out of the mud, and then coming back down. But what you've done here is you've really grounded into the earth. And feeling that grounded in your whole body, that grounding provides strength to your soul, stability to your body, and stillness to your mind. So, other great thing about mountain pose is that it's the essentials of good posture. So our legs are nice and straight and strong with a gentle bend in our knees, acting like springs. Be able to be flexible and adaptable. Our navel's tucked to our spine, creating a nice long back, going all the way up to the base of your head. That nice long lengthening of your spine and the back of your neck. Shoulders are relaxed and roll back. Crown of your head reaches up toward the sky. And we're going to take a big sweep with our hands all the way up overhead as we inhale deeply. And then exhale, bringing our hands all the way down to the mat, bending our knees as we go, support our lower back. And then we'll bring our hands to our shins. And we're going to slide our hands all the way up to the tops of the thighs, just so they reach that hip crease there. Elbows are pointing up and out, kind of like a chicken, spring chicken here. But just really feel that helping to elongate your spine and the back of your neck. And then we'll slide our hands all the way back down, all the way back down to the mat, but keeping our legs that soft bend, not deep bend. Crown of our head reaches down toward the ground. And we'll just take a moment here, let gravity take over. So kind of lift your hands or fingertips off the mat and just let gravity take over you in this hanging position. And then we'll sweep our hands all the way up. And as we bring them up overhead, we're going to come up onto our tippy toes. And then, whoa, slowly lower lower our hands and bring our heels back down. Or if your heels are saying what mine are saying, I'm going right down to the mat. We'll try this again. So sweeping our hands up, we'll come up onto our tippy toes. Listen to my cues here, feet, and then up overhead, and then come back down. And as we slowly lower our hands, we're going to slowly lower our heels back down to the mat. There. And one last time, 3 times charm. So sweeping our hands up, overhead, coming up onto our tippy toes. And then slowly bringing our hands, nope, 2 times charm. Hands down. And our heels come down. We're going to send our hands all the way down to the mat, bending our knees as we go. And then bringing our hands to our shins. And then sliding them again all the way up to the top of the thighs. Really lengthening that spine, that lower back of your neck. And then sliding the hands back down, setting the crown of the head down toward the mat. And sweeping our hands all the way up overhead. We'll bring them together at the top. And we're going to interlace our fingers and then leaving our index fingers pointing up to the sky. And then gently point our fingers over to the right side, creating a gentle arch. And then back up to center. And then over to the left side. And then back up to center. We'll do each side one more time. So pointing over to the left, to the right. And then back up to center. And then pointing over to the left. Back up to center. We'll release our fingers and bring them all the way back down to the mat, bending our knees deeply as we go. Bringing our hands to our shins, sliding them all the way up to the tops of the thighs. Having those little chicken wings fluttering about. Spine is nice and long and straight. And we'll slide the hands back down to the mat. And then placing the fingertips out in front of our feet, we're going to do a few forward fold and squats. So we're going to lift our heels off the mat, coming onto the balls of our feet, coming down into a squat position, bending our knees fully. And then we'll bring our heels back down to the mat as we straighten our legs, coming back into a forward fold. Crown of the head reaches down toward the mat. We'll do that again, bringing our heels off the mat, coming onto the balls of our feet, bending our knees deeply, coming into the squat. And then bringing our heels back down to the mat. Coming back into a forward fold. And one last time, onto the balls of our feet, lifting our heels, coming into the squat. And then bringing our heels back down to the mat. Coming back into the forward fold and sweeping our hands all the way up overhead. And palms come together. Palms come to heart center. Palms come to the back of your hips. Our feet are about hip width apart. With our palms against our hips, our fingers pointing down to the earth. Shoulders are relaxed and gently rolled back. We're going to tuck our chin toward our chest and then just bring our shoulders back to a supported back bend. And you just come back as far as you can to allow your breath to be nice and even. And then we'll come back up. Nice mountain pose. Well done, everyone. So, as I mentioned earlier, we're now into Kapha season. And the elements of Kapha are the earth and the water, that mud season thing. And as Ayurvedic science goes, in order to counteract those tendencies of that wetness and that earth and being bogged down by it, we go in the opposite direction. We balance by opposites. So the opposite would be air and fire. So I thought, what would be better than sun salutations? And there's quite a number of sun salutations. The one we most often do are sun salutation A and B. Today we're going to do A, B, and C. So we'll just go through them, A to B to C, and then repeat it again. And there's no real kind of one side versus the other side in some of them. Like sun salutation A is a great one to do in the morning. It can be what could be considered a moving meditation. Like walking is a moving meditation. So this particular, the A one is because it's so nice and short, you can do it as many times as you have time for. But we're going to go actually A, B, C right through. I'll tell you when we're going through them. So do what you can. Try to do some modifications along the way. So we're going to sweep our hands up overhead and then bring our hands down to the mat, bending our knees as we go, forward fold. Inhale, bringing our hands to our shins, flattening out our back, and then bringing our hands back down to the mat, sending both feet to the bottom of the mat, coming into plank pose. So our wrists are right below our shoulders, heels are pushing to the back of the mat, navel's tucked to the spine, elevating the hips slightly so you don't have any saggy tummies. You want your hips to be up. And then we're going to slowly come down to the mat, either knees, chest, chin, or chaturanga. And we're going to be doing a lot of these planks today, so your choice. You may start one way and the other way. So chaturanga. And then with our hands right below your shoulders, we're going to gently lift our chin and our chest up, gently pushing into our hands, coming into cobra. And then coming into downward dog, you can either tuck your toes and go right into it, or preferably, if you want, protect your lower back, come to your knees, like you're coming to tabletop, and then tuck your toes under and come into downward dog. So that's the only one I would really, well, that and chaturanga, really choose which one you'd like to do. And you may alternate. So now we're in downward dog. Fingers are nice and wide, spread nice and wide. Index finger pointing up to the top of the mat. Arms are straight and strong. Chest reaching toward your thigh to elevate your hips. Pedal out. You can bring your heel down to the mat if that's workable for you. And then we'll slowly, you can walk your hands up to your hands. You can go slow, you can go fast, you can choose your own pace. And then we'll come to our hands in forward fold. And then sweep our hands all the way up overhead. Palms come together. Palms come to heart center. And that's Sun Salutation A. Okay, pause for a moment. Sun Salutation B. We're going to sweep our hands up overhead. And with our hands up overhead, or you can bring them out in front of you, we're going to bend our knees, lowering our hips toward our ankles, coming into chair pose. And then bring our hands down to the mat for forward fold. Bring them up to your shins, your hands to your shins, half forward fold. And bringing our hands back down to the mat for forward fold. Send both feet to the bottom of the mat, coming back into plank pose. And then we'll lower either knees, chest, chin, or chaturanga to the mat. Gently lift the head and the chest up, keeping elbows tucked to the side, pushing down your hands, coming into cobra. And then we'll go to downward dog, so you can either come to tabletop and downward dog, or you can go right into downward dog from cobra. And we'll pedal out here for a moment. And then we'll bring our right foot forward, gently bringing it between our hands, maybe assisting it with your hand, coming into runner's lunge. With our knees right above our ankle, feel that stability in your foot. Gonna push down in the foot and come up to high lunge, lifting our arms up overhead. And then bringing our hands back down to the mat. We'll send our foot back to plank pose. And then lowering down, chaturanga, knees, chest, chin. And then lifting our chin and our chest up, gently pushing in our hands, coming back to cobra. And then to downward dog, either via tabletop or just tucking your toes under and coming up to downward dog. We'll pedal out here for a moment. And then we're going to bring our left foot between our hands. You can assist that. Please be careful when you move your foot to that runner's lunge position, not to catch your toes. So we're in runner's lunge with our knee right above our ankle, back foot's nice and secure. And then we're going to push down, focusing on our front foot, coming into high lunge on the other side. And then bringing our hands back down, bring our foot back to plank pose. We'll knees, chest, chin, or chaturanga down to plank. Lift the chin and the chest up to cobra. And then to downward dog, either knees, chest, chin, or not knees, chest, to tabletop, or right to downward dog. We'll pedal out here for a moment. And then we'll walk our feet up to our hands, bringing our hands to our shins, half forward fold, and then bringing our hands to the mat, crown down toward the mat for forward fold. We're going to bend our hips, or not bend our hips, lower our hips down toward the ankles. So we're going to, it's like you're trying to sit down, and then lifting your arms up. We'll come into chair pose, and then lifting our hands up to the sky. Palms come together, palms come to heart center. And that's Sun Salutation B. And Sun Salutation C, not quite as symmetrical, and it's pretty short. We'll just catch a breath here for a moment. And then we'll sweep our hands up overhead. Palms come together. And then palms come all the way down to the mat, bending our knees as we go, going into forward fold. And then extend the right leg back, coming into runner's lunge. Bring the right knee down to the mat. Top of the right foot comes down to the mat. And then sweeping your hands up to the sky for a low lunge. And then bringing the hands back down to the mat. Tucking the back foot under, coming back up to runner's lunge. Bringing that left foot to the back, coming into plank pose. And then you can either knees, chest, chin, or chaturanga down to the mat. And then we'll, keeping our hands under our shoulders, we're going to lift our chin and the chest, and then gently pushing down in the hands, coming into cobra. And then to downward dog, either way, via tabletop or straight to it. And then we'll pedal out here for a moment. And then we're going to bring our right foot between our hands into runner's lunge. Back leg is extended, heel pushing to the back. And then bringing the left knee down to the mat, top of the left foot down. We'll sweep our hands up to the sky, putting our weight into our front foot. And then back down again with our hands, tucking our back foot under, coming back into runner's lunge. And then we're going to go straight to forward fold. So we're going to bring the left foot up to meet the right foot, coming into forward fold. And then gently sweeping our hands up above our head. Palms come together and palms come to heart center. And that is Salutation C. So, question is, we want to do this all again? Let's. We'll go quickly, so go at your own pace. You can do all of them or some of them, whichever you prefer. So we'll sweep our hands up overhead, back to Salutation A, Sun Salutation A, bringing our hands back down, bending our knees as we go. Inhale, hands come to our shins, nice flat back, and then hands come back down to the mat, stepping both feet back to plank pose, knees, chest, chin, or chaturanga down, then bringing our chin and chest and pushing down to come into cobra. And then we'll tuck our toes under, come to tabletop or directly to downward dog. Pedal out. And then we'll walk our feet to our hands. Hands come to the shins, nice flat back. Hands come back to the mat, forward fold, and then sweep our hands all the way up overhead. And palms come together, palms come to heart center. Salutation A. Okay, Salutation B. Sweeping our hands up overhead. Keeping our hands up there, we're going to come into chair pose, so dropping our hips down toward our ankles. Keeping our knees behind our toes, navels tucked to the spine. And then bringing our hands down to the mat. And then bringing them half forward fold. And then back down to the mat for forward fold. And bring both feet back to the back of the mat, coming into plank pose. And then knees, chest, chin for chaturanga. Down to the mat. Gently lift our chin and chest up, pushing down into our hands, coming into cobra. And then tuck our toes under or come to tabletop to downward dog. Pedal out here for a moment. And then bringing our right foot between our hands, coming into runner's lunge. And then when you feel nice and stable here, with our knee over your ankle, foot nice and secure in the mat, we're gonna push down to that foot, coming up to high lunge, lifting our arms up to the sky. And then bringing our hands back down to the mat, bringing our right foot back, coming into plank pose, and then knees, chest, chin, or chaturanga down. And then lifting our chin and our chest, pushing down into our hands, coming into cobra. Tucking the toes under or coming to tabletop, and then to downward dog. And pedal out. And then we'll bring the left foot between the hands gently. And be careful about your toes getting hot. And when we're in runner's lunge, feeling nice and secure and stable in that, we push down that left foot, lifting up, and then lifting our arms up to the sky. And then bringing our hands back down, bringing the left foot back to join the right foot in plank pose. Knees, chest, chin. Chaturanga down. And then gently ease into cobra. And then tuck our toes or come into tabletop to downward dog. And then slowly walk our feet up to our hands. Hands come to the shins for half forward fold. Hands come back down to the mat for forward fold. Lowering our hips down to our ankles like we're sitting down. And then lifting our hands up to the sky, coming into chair pose. And then lifting our hands all the way up. Palms come together. Palms come to heart center for salutation B. I'm sorry about that. My phone seems to be ringing. And then our last one, Sun Salutation C. We'll sweep our hands up overhead. Palms come together. And then palms come all the way down to the mat. Bending our knees as we go. The right foot goes back, coming into runner's lunge. And we'll lower our right knee to the mat, lifting our arms up overhead, and then bringing our hands back down, tucking our toes back under, coming back to runner's lunge. We'll take that left foot, have it join the right, coming into plank pose. I think this is the last chaturanga. So coming on down to the mat. And then lifting the chin and the chest up into cobra, pushing down, coming fully into cobra. And then into downward dog, either tabletop or directly in. And then we're going to bring that right foot between the hands, coming into runner's lunge. The left knee goes down to the mat. Top of the left foot goes down to the mat. Have that right ankle right below the knee, pushing the weight into the right foot, lifting your hands up to the sky. And then bringing our hands back down to the mat, tucking our toes under runner's lunge, and we're going to go from here to forward fold. So bringing that left foot all the way up to joining the right, coming into forward fold, and sweeping our hands all the way up overhead. Palms come together, and palms come to heart center. So that's Sun Salutation C. So if you're not warm by now, that's the whole point. Going from that cool, wet, snowy, muddy sensation of Kapha season and counterbalancing it with something airy, a lot of movement, a lot of heat. So we'll bring our pinky toes to the edges of the mat. Heels are tucked in 45 degrees. Bending our knees, we're going to come into a wide-legged squat, bringing our torso between our legs, elbows resting on the inside of our knees. Hands reaching down toward the mat. And then we'll bring our sit bones down. And we're going to roll down, so you can choose which way you'd like to roll down. Knees bent, roll down, knees straight, roll down, or express method, tucking your hands under your knees and rolling down. We'll interlace our fingers around our knees, bringing our knees toward our chest, giving them a nice big hug, really straightening out that lower back and spine, and then rocking it against the mat. Give that lower back a nice massage. And while we're doing this rocking thing, let's put both feet back on the mat. And they're just about hip width apart, maybe a skosh wider. And you can have your hands either on your rib cage or hips, alongside with palms facing down, support. And we're going to do some windshield wipers. So we're just going to bring the knees over to the right and bring your hands to a spot where it's nice and comfortable. Your shoulders are nice and snug in the mat. And then we'll swing back and drop them knees to the other side, the left side. And then back again, over to the right. And then back again, over to the left. And then just kind of make a nice even flow of it, like a windshield wiper. You know, the wet snow or spring rains need to clear off the windshield. Do a few more of these. If you'd like, you could just pause on one side and pause on the other. Up to you. All right, we'll bring our knees back to center, slide our feet all the way down the mat, sending our heels to each corner. You just kind of relax. And if it helps, you can take a deep inhale and then deeply exhale through your mouth, just letting your whole body relax into the mat. Shavasana is not an active pose per se, it's a relaxation. So want to take advantage of just allowing your body, after what it's just done, to soak in all those nutrients by just relaxing. Alrighty, and today I have a poem for you titled March 1st by Terri Crowther. It's the first day of spring, meteorologically speaking. Proof for me? Seeing a robin in our tree. It sits in the tree, high above the snow banks, pecking ice apples, finding ice worms. Does it know another polar vortex is coming? Coming in like a lion? This month will spring our clocks ahead, like the bouncing step of a lamb, taking a leap of faith that on the 20th, spring will truly land.